it's Mrs. Rasmussen here, and I thought I would post something for a little Saturday night brain teaser. Me and my brother-in-law actually covered this topic on Thanksgiving one year. We were here doing a few of these New York State Regents questions for recursive sequences to find the next term. It's a topic that I really like because you don't really need any pre-algebraic knowledge to be able to do it. All you need to know is your basic operations. And it looks terrifying to some people, especially students that have struggled in math their whole life. But let's dive in to see how non-terrifying it is, and actually just like a nice little puzzle for, to keep our brain exercised, just like reading a book. So the first thing we notice, hopefully, is that they give us the first term. And the way we say this is a sub 1. So, or just the first term of the sequence. So the first term of the sequence is 3. So that's all we need to know. And of course, we need to know the formula. So we can go right ahead and find, it asks us to find a sub 2, a sub 3, and a sub 4. So we can go right ahead and find a sub 2 because we have all the information we need. So we have 2 times a sub n minus 1. And this a sub n just means that any term. And I use the letter n because any term, it's easy to remember that way. So I'm actually going to erase n because we don't need that, because we know this eraser is so big. It never erases exactly what I want. So we don't need the n actually because we know what numbers we're dealing with now. So here we have a any term. So we're not talking about any term anymore. We're talking about the second term. We've defined that here. So instead of n, we're writing 2 because that's the term we're looking for. So now I get lazy sometimes. I don't like to write this side of the equal sign, but whatever, that's a bad habit, I guess. So a sub 2 minus 1 looks confusing, but all we have to do is 2 minus 1, which is 1. So a sub 1 plus 1. Luckily, we know, and I'm going to color it in pink, and I'm not going to say anything else other than try to guess what we're going to put there. This is why I use color coding, because I find in algebra and in math, advanced math anyway, it gets tricky, like knowing, sometimes I'd be sitting in class and be like, where did she get that? And why are we doing this? So I feel like the color coding, especially for my students, is just an easy way to see like, oh, okay, this is where I got that, and this is coming from there. So hopefully you were able to guess, well, it wouldn't really be a guess, to see that we are going to put 3 there because we know that a of 1 is 3. So there we go. We know the first, I always say when I teach this topic that if anyone has played Super Mario, the population of people that are doing that in high school are not, like when I was younger, makes me feel a little old. But if you've played Super Mario, you know that after you beat all the levels and you beat the whole game, there's little keys that you have to go around and find to beat other secret levels. And I always say that this is like that little key that we need to like be able to get to as many sequence terms as possible. So now we have the key to find the second term of the sequence. So PEMDAS, if you remember, you do 3 plus 1 is 4. And then, so that means that a of 2, I always say that because it functions, it's a sub 2, is 8. So I'm going to write that over here just for my reference, because I'm going to start collecting sequence numbers as I go. So I know a sub 2 equals 8. So I'm just going to reuse this giant eraser. Does not help, and there's no way to change the size, but that's okay. I'm just gonna erase as little as possible because I am gonna reuse this whole situation here. And let's see, do with my little purple highlighter. So now we're looking for the third term. So you might notice that at this point, you probably don't need this step. I always tell my students to do all the steps and use all the supports, highlighting, all of that all the time, because there's times where I make silly little mistakes just because I'm rushing and I feel super confident in something. I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing. And I end up making a silly little mistake because I missed something. So there's no harm in giving the supports, as much as you need it. But you might be starting to realize that you don't really need the highlighting. You might not need this step. And I do fade the supports, as they say in special education, as we go on in the topic, as I see that the students are getting more comfortable. So A3 minus 1 is just saying A sub 2. I know what A sub 2 is because I just found it using the formula. So I'm going to put that in here. So A sub 3, sorry, I was saying that. Okay, so 2 times 9 is 18. I'm going to add that to my collection over here. And there we go. So I'm going to leave it to you guys if you're interested, of course, and if you're a nerd like me that enjoys, keeping my brain exercised by doing these kind of things and finding the puzzle. As I said, it looks terrifying to a lot of people, and I love doing this topic with my students because I know that when they get this question on the Regents, if I've never shown them how simple it really is, they're going to look at it and just skip it or panic, and then it's going to affect them for the rest of the test that they're taking or whatever the case may be. So as you see, it's really just basic. As long as we know our math operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, we can do this. So it's actually not, it just looks scary. And that's a lot of algebra, if I'm honest. It's just things like function notation, f of x. It's just things that look scary, but we're actually able to do if we just try, or someone just takes the time to teach it to us. So I would like to leave it up to you to try to find A sub 4, the fourth term of the sequence, and comment somewhere and let me know that you did, and I can help you let you know if it's right or wrong. And then I left you this whole extra question as well that you can work on. It's a different formula, same idea though. And that would show that you really understood the topic. And that would count kind of like an exit ticket. If I was teaching, I would, do my examples with you, leave you to some independent questions, and then at the end, hopefully have an exit ticket to see, if what I did actually helped and if you were able to grasp the concept. So it would be kind of exciting to do this with my followers and my friends and people on Facebook and Instagram. So feel free to do them and let me know the answers you get so I could see, if I'm good at doing what I do.